Alright, hit the button. Should be making a video and such, and so forth and whatnot. Fix the chat thing, blah blah blah, and then we'll go make the video. That's how it works. Okay, so I have to fix this browser window a little bit, and then we're off. Oh, jeez, people. Yuck. All right. Let's see. So what did it do to this? It put these ads over here. Why did it do that? I don't know. Okay, it's a YouTube feature. Lots of YouTube features. Most of them not very pleasant. I don't know. I have to change the size of this thing because that's a little off now. Alright. Still can't quite fit the comments in there. There. Okay. Alright, so some stupid comments by Piro. So I figure those are worth laughing at. It's just, they're never on the subject. So they just keep talking shit. So, I did, suggest that these people, be interesting if they could actually make a response video. So it's really easy. This whole internet thing creates this whole environment where, you can do interactions in lots of ways. And there's a thing called the response video, which I make a lot of, obviously, where I play somebody else's video and I respond to the comments made in it, and I make my counter arguments, and then somebody could choose to make a counter argument, but no one's ever capable of doing that. So that doesn't get to happen. You don't get to extend the conversation in any way. It's almost like when the rich and famous YouTubers have an argument. The argument only lasts 2 videos, because, they don't like to argue. So they just find some way to say, oh, it's just semantics and we really do agree. It's just such horseshit. The other thing you can do is have a real conversation with somebody. Okay, a live conversation under some sort of rules, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine too, but these people can't do either one. So certainly I'll debate any one of these idiots live. You just have to have the rule that I get 5 minutes, you get 5 minutes, and that's it. You have to shut up for 5 minutes. I'll talk for 5 minutes, then you can talk for 5 minutes, and I'll shut up, and we'll see who can make a better physics argument. But I think, because it really won't be conversational enough, for question and answer, let's say, because they'll evade the questions all the time, and so that's all that's taken place. So anyway, so Piro suggested, I mock the idea that maybe some of this little troop of morons who all collectively can't answer direct questions, who really don't agree with each other but pretend they do, which is also funny, can't collectively make an argument that is at all relevant to anything I've done or said. I mean, they always are just creating some fake character they're having their argument with, because they can't paraphrase me correctly, they can't describe anything I say accurately, and they won't actually play video clips of me saying it unless they can distort them, unless they can quote mine them. Now, I will say Mindless Marbles has played clips of me saying things, and to me, and he provides no counter argument, and to me, yeah, it's all win for me, because he thinks by just playing the point, like if I said something like gravity is a time-dependent force, he thinks that's a mockable idea on its face. So even though it says 9.8 meters per second, he thinks it's mockable. So we'll do that subject first. So what I'm going to do is read a comment by Piro, and then I'm going to explain one of the arguments he's evaded, and then I'll read a comment, and I'll explain another argument he's evaded, and then I'll read a comment and explain another one of the arguments he's evaded. Okay, the ones he hasn't responded to, can't say anything to, because I'm absolutely correct. His ideas and his theories can't in any way counter argue, because he doesn't have any weapons to counter argue with. He has no physical evidence, and the idea on its face is stupid. Okay, so anyway. By the way, if you want to have a broadcast conversation on why you find this interesting, so they would sit there and waste time talking about how it's interesting that somebody disagrees with them. They won't explain why the person's wrong. They'll just explain why it's interesting. Yeah. Or hope it's worthwhile. I'd be game. So he's willing to talk to one of these lunatics. Well, why don't you talk to the John Walker guy? See if you can talk him into it. And then he can explain free energy to you and how peppers are magnetic. You know, chili peppers. Maybe Steven could join in. And what would you talk about then? Baby toys? It's one of Steven's favorite collectibles. So anyway, to the drawing board. So one comment and one response. All right, that's how it'll work. So I should be able to do, I'll just do this, I guess. And that should work. All right, so I repeatedly made this argument about gravity, time-dependent force. This is where physics went wrong. So Leibniz was, he was a scientist. I mean, I would say he's a plagiarist, but whatever. But his idea was he could see this thing happen in gravity, and that's all that mattered to him. Okay, is that this simple thing took place where, 4 times the distance, and the idea is that you only went twice the velocity. So somehow twice the velocity got you 4 times the distance. So somehow twice the velocity is magical because you went 4 times the height against this gravitational force. But the trick is that you traveled 4 times the distance and only twice the time. So that was one of the important features he just didn't consider, is that it only takes twice the time to go 4 times the distance. And so, in a way, the force, you must be defeating it because you're cheating it time-wise. And so what he wasn't appreciating, okay, is that when this falls, it only lands with twice the weight. Okay, so it only takes it twice the time. So this falls in 1 unit of time. This only falls in 2 units of time. Not 4 units of time, only 2. It's only twice the time. It's only twice the velocity. And it's only twice the weight. Okay. So you can sort of understand that weight is a really important thing. Now, Puro is going to mock the idea that weight equals energy. But just as a fact, it does. And you can't make any logical argument explaining how weight isn't a clear expression of something's momentum. That's what weight is. Weight is momentum. So compressing springs, okay, this is an energy detector. All I do is turn it sideways and it detects energy. Okay, I have to have energy. I could have electrons hit the scale. I could have lots of different things hit the scale. And the fact is if they don't have energy, they don't push the scale. If they do have energy, they will push the scale. And it's that obvious. And it works for pressurized tanks and rocket engines and all kinds of stuff. It's all about weight, pressure. Now, he won't counter-argue. He'll just say, no, it isn't. That's his counter-argument. No, it isn't. Yeah. You won't show how in any physical example in the real world it isn't. Alright, so this is why there's this stupid 1/2 mv squared, is merely because of this 4 times the distance. So they were obsessed with distance. Distance matters. Distance is everything. Now, I have explained repeatedly that if I had a gravitational body and we had a certain amount of distance that we would call its gravitational influence, and the faster I travel that distance, the less I get bent. Okay, so have we heard any response from Brozo or Gosling or Gephardt or whatever his name is? Any of the players here, any of these morons, Disbohr, have we heard anything from them explaining why that is? Why the faster I go, I get bent less by the gravitational body? Why is that? If it's not a time-dependent force, that is, the distance is always the same, How come if I go really slow, I crash into the planet? How come if I go really fast, I don't? Seems like the 9.8 meters per second, right? I mean, it says right there, right? It says 9.8 meters per second. This is a unit of time. That decides how much gravity you're affected by, is how much time are you free falling in it, or how much time are you directly fighting it. That'll tell you how much gravity you have to overcome. So the slower a rocket leaves the Earth, the more the gravity work it has to do. And the faster it can leave, the less work it'll have to do. Just a fact, the less fuel it will use per mile. Now, will they counter that argument? I'm saying the fuel economy goes way up the further you shoot for. So if you shoot for, escaping Earth gravity, your miles per gallon will go way up. Okay, gigantic. And the same thing is true when something's crashing into the Earth. So I've made this argument. If something's crashing into the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour, it's going to travel through a distance of gravity very quickly. It's going very fast. So it's only going to get 9.8 meters per second. Okay. Now, if it went really slow, okay, 1 second could just be a foot. If a second is a mile, it's only going to get 9.8 meters for that whole mile. But if the 1 second is only 1 foot, it's going to get 9.8 meters per foot. So it completely depends on how fast it's going. If it's going very fast, it's going to gain almost nothing from Earth's gravity. I mean, a tiny percentage. Oh, it goes up to 1,026 miles an hour, right? Tiny increase in its velocity. Goes slow, gigantic increases in its velocity. All right, per unit of distance, certainly per mile. Those are facts. Will they counter-argue these facts? This fact. Will I ever hear a counter-argument to the fact? No. Will I hear a counter-argument to this fact? No. Will I hear a counter-argument to these stated facts? No. They'll just keep doing what they're doing, which is evading the subject. So obviously, if it's 9.8 meters per second, and this only falls for 2 seconds, it can only collect 2 units of energy. This is a unit of energy. It can only collect 2 units of energy. 2 seconds, 2 units. That's it. 1 second, 1 unit. Twice as much energy here. Twice as much units of energy have been imposed on the object. That's why it only weighs twice as much. It only weighs twice as much because it only collected 2 units of this. It didn't collect squared units of this. It just collected 2. Alright, now this relates directly, okay, to the linear gravitational argument, which is rolling things. If I roll something twice as fast with twice the velocity, it will go 4 times the distance. And so the simple argument is they'll tell us that friction is linear, that for every little inch you get the same heat is dissipated to the surface. So if you measured the heat dissipated from this to the surface, if I shoot this at 1,000 miles an hour or I shoot this at 1 mile an hour, I'll dissipate the same amount of energy per foot. That's their theory. Now the argument is no, you won't. It's completely dependent on how much gravitational pressure is pushing you into the surface. That'll decide how much energy you're going to be able to dissipate. And the fact is the quicker you move across the surface and the faster you're going, then the less per foot pressure, weight, you're putting on the ground. So if I had a scale for this distance, and I put this distance on a scale, all right, so we built a scale, all right, to measure the weight of the object. What we would find is that the faster I make it go, the less it weighs less. Okay, the faster it's going, oh, you can't see the little drawing down there, but it's spring here and such. I guess it's better to have that there. So what's the counter argument? Do they really think it's going to weigh the same no matter what speed I make it travel at? The total pressure on the spring will be the same. The time that it's compressed will be the same. no matter how fast I go across that surface? No, it won't be. And the other truth is that if I actually do this experiment, right? So one velocity, can you see the, yeah, you can see that, and two velocity. So one velocity only gets me this distance, right? Big difference. I mean, it looks like it means something. Huge difference between one velocity and two velocities. What would you have to kind of figure out is that this is where it goes half the speed, okay? So that's the trick. This is the same as this. Here's the same speed as this. It's going v1 here. And this is going v1. So this and this are the same. That's the same loss to the environment. The same energy loss, the same heat, the same everything in this little space. And the fact is this whole 3 thing here, you know, Galileo knew this. 500 years ago, Galileo knew this right answer. And these assholes, these people are telling you Galileo was misinformed, okay? When no, Galileo had it right, and you people have it obviously wrong, okay? This whole 3 distance is the same dissipation, because the half is here. The half is 3/4 down the track. Okay, should be at the halfway point. That's where half the speed should be, at halfway. But no, half the speed is way down here, because you got this for free, essentially. Because the faster you go, the less you leak to the environment, the less you lose. So the fact is, this part of the track isn't as hot as this part of the track. The fact is, this one dissipated more energy than this one dissipated, because the fact is, the object was in this surface area, okay, per surface area, okay, same time on this small space, same time on this big space, same time pushing. All right. So will they defeat this argument? So this is the whole reason there isn't 1/2 mv squared. There's no other reason. It's just this simple misunderstanding of gravity. That because it goes 4 times higher doesn't mean it's 4 times the energy, because it's only working against twice the force. 2 units of force per second. Per second. Not per meter. Distance isn't the answer. It is not mgh equals energy. No. It's mgt. That's the correct answer. And so let's see, will we ever get a counter argument to this made argument? Will they acknowledge the existence of these arguments and actually counter them by explaining why anything I said here was incorrect? Anything said was incorrect. The answer is no, the cowards will evade it. They'll quote mine some other video from 1842 and pretend that's the argument, because they're cowards. Alright, let's see if this says something. Good morning. OUI. I don't know what that means. Fuck's sake. People can't speak English anymore. Alright. Summary point. There is no equation that predicts what Gary wants. Okay, so this is about collisions. And the fact is that Descartes couldn't make an equation either. Okay, Descartes was a mathematician, essentially. I mean, he did pre-calculus. And he couldn't make an equation. Beyond the equation, which is momentum in, momentum out. So yes, mv will equal mv. So whatever your total masses are and your total velocities are before the experiment, after the collision, you have to have the same total of mass and velocity. So besides that equation, which does cover everything, yes, they don't have an equation. Okay, Galileo, Descartes, and Newton did not form an equation because the whole very idea of elastic collisions was a little bit mushy, frankly. Alright, that's really one of the reasons the relationship between kinetic energy and momentum, and therefore energy in general, had to be developed. So it didn't have to be developed. This is the biggest lie ever told, is that there was anything wrong with Newton's mechanics, that it somehow failed to answer a question correctly. So that's the big lie. There wasn't some glaring elephant in the room that was creating some kind of problem. And the joke is, if they were actually landing on the moon at that time, they would know that, well, this new formula crashes your spaceships. So they would know that it's the exact opposite of any reason to do this. And it breaks all of the basic devices. Don't work anymore now. Levers don't work, gears don't work. Anything that converts momentum doesn't work anymore now under their theory, because it becomes a free energy device. Every time, how many times have I said this? You crash a heavy thing, okay, into a light thing, and you conserve the momentum, you'll end up creating free energy. Okay. And the vice versa, as I have explained, the train example. Maybe we'll do that one over again, because they really haven't explained any of that either. How do you conserve the momentum and also make heat, and also make sounds, and also vibrate the earth? How do you do all of that extra stuff and save your momentum? Yeah, the point is, you can't do that. It's stupid. Things have to make sense logically. And your logic is that distance is really important and time doesn't matter, even though it says 9.8 meters per second. That's your logic. Okay, you can't see the crap I'm reading, so I have to remember to turn the stupid crap I'm reading back on, which means I have to move the camera back down, right? No, that didn't work. I moved it the wrong way. Yeah, that worked. Okay, things have to make sense logically and have to fit together mathematically. So whatever that means, right? So they have their magical formulas. Now, the whole point I'm making is their math is unreliable nonsense. So we know they can't do the math correctly for the double slit experiment. It's always been a big lie. That if they do the experiment with infinitesimally small slits, it will not be a double slit experiment at all. It will be a single slit pattern. It won't have the envelope. It won't be a real double slit pattern. It's just a big fat lie, frankly, and they won't take any responsibility for that absolute fact. So there's lots of formulas they have, and they claim they get these brilliantly accurate answers, and they don't. They're just fake. They don't even come close, frankly. All right, and their silly energy formulas are all a pile of crap. No one ever tests them. They've never shown it taking 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. So does Puro believe it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast? It takes 4 times the fuel to lift. I lifted a battery to here. Now I lift another battery to here. That's 4 times the work. Somehow this, okay, was a unit of work, and somehow adding this makes it 4 times the work. Because it's twice the weight. I compress a spring twice as much. That means I have, in fact, done 4 times as much work. Twice the compression of a spring is 4 times the work, even though I can prove it over and over and over again that it isn't. That I can just do this once. Okay, balance, balance, balance. And then I can do it a second time. And I'll double the compression of the spring, and I'll only do twice the work. Fact. Will they do that experiment? Will they show us? Will they explain it? Never. They won't do it because they can't explain it, because it's absolute batshit stupid. And they're defending a stupid theory. It is stupid to say it takes 4 times the energy to compress a spring twice as much. It's fucking stupid. You just have 2 people that weigh 200 pounds, let's say, and one of them steps on the scale. Is it 4 times the energy because a second one steps on the same scale, doing the same procedure, the same step up, the same height, twice the compression of the spring? How can it be 4 times the energy? Not possible. Will they respond to that point ever? Will they ever argue that actual argument? That's my actual, that's what I'm seeing you saying that doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm sitting here listening to you say shit, and you're saying shit that doesn't make any fucking sense. How could it possibly be 4 times the energy if it only took 2 times the work? How is that possible? Will you explain it to me? You fucking cunt. Skanky cunt. All right. So it's just, rubbish comments. All right, so let's do another subject since we read another comment. So I have to do. Yeah. I could just switch these two, I suppose. This one just goes up, and that should be fine. All right, so let's see what subject we'll do. I'll pick one. See what it says on my little notes here. All right, so I did linear gravitational friction, okay, and the per second thing. Let's see, full to go 2 times as fast. Oh, okay, so it's the spring one, not 4 times the energy to compress a spring twice as much. So, yeah, I said that one, but we'll draw that one. Just to make it very clear, we'll just say, come on, how can you people believe this crap? Right, that these people make videos, I mean, and they're applauding each other. So let's understand. So they are agreeing with each other. They're not pointing out how each other is making huge mistakes and creating noise and complexing the argument. So Pirro said nothing to Ian Gosling about being absolutely full of crap when he said it's harder, okay, to spring to compress a spring twice as much. He has to somehow use 4 times the energy, when it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that does get incrementally more pressure, but the total amount is always going to be the same, in terms of it's either 1 unit of compression or 2 units of compression. So you could argue, I suppose, that the first part of the spring is easier to compress. Maybe that's a valid argument. But the simple point is that you can't argue, okay, that the spring, okay, say we're going to pull the spring instead. So we're saying how much does it take, how much work is it to pull a spring? Okay, so there's its relaxed position, and we're going to pull on the spring, and then we're going to pull it even further. Okay, now, so this is just Hooke's law. I mean, this stuff is stuff you really can't argue with. So we know it takes the same work to lift a weight onto a spring, or to drop it from the same location, or however you want to figure out how to do the dynamics of it. But the fact is that if I place a weight on here, okay, then a 1 weight does this, and a 2 weight does this. Okay, so that's all it takes. I just have to double the weight. So I double the weight, and I'll double the stretch, the pull on the spring. So even though the spring gets harder and harder and harder to pull, by some theory, the fact is it really can't be, because twice the mass will pull it twice as far. And I could just make the same argument that if I made a scale and I was going to put the weight on top of the scale, and I have 2 units of weight sitting here ready to do the work, I put one of them on this location and put it on the scale. So this is the work I did. That it's exactly the same amount of work to put a second one here. So it's only 2 units of work. 1, 1. So it equals 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Can't equal 4. Can't possibly have created 4 units of work energy here. Energy equal to work. I mean, there can't be 4 units of energy on the scale. It's not possible, because I only did 2 units of work. That would be, again, a free energy device. If all I had to do was 2 units of work and I could get 4 units of energy out, well, that's free energy. So the obvious argument would be whatever you dropped in here. So if we did drop them with a velocity, a momentum, all I can get back is the same thing it gave me. So whatever velocity it has, it's going to give it back again, and that's all I'm going to get, and I can't get more. And the simple truth is that, yes, if I drop one object, okay, 1 unit of time, okay, then I'm only going to get one object going 1 unit of time. That those impacts won't be at twice the velocity. They're just going to be at the same velocity. And that it does matter that I double the velocity. So if I can double the velocity, I will increase the momentum, okay, in the sense that the total, the capacity of the thing to make an impact. But again, if I weight it, at the same time, if these two things fall at the same time, then I'm going to get, the scale's going to read it as 2. As same as if I dropped one of them from twice the height. Well, 4 times the height to double the velocity. See, you got to always keep in mind, 4 times the height doubles the velocity. So you have to go way up to double the velocity. But you're not going to get more out of it. It's still only these units of pressure. And that's all you can have are the units of pressure. Another way to say it. So if there's 2 football players and they both weigh 100 pounds and they're both going to have some kind of momentum and they're going to hit one person at the same time, obviously their combined energy, okay, is going to be essentially the same as if I had the one going twice the speed. So if I can hit them with 2 guys going 20 miles an hour, or I can hit them with 1 guy going 40 miles an hour. And those impacts will be the same. It's the same for cars and whatever you want to compare. In terms of you go twice as fast, as the Mythbusters video explains, you go twice as fast, go drop it from 4 times the height, go twice as fast. Twice the velocity does not get you 4 times the impact. It does not crush the car 4 times as much, just twice as much. Twice as much compression. Alright. So these are what are called arguments. They evade the arguments. They won't answer the simple point that kind of obviously twice the compression of a spring can't be 4 times the energy, because I can create twice the compression with only doing 2 units of work. Fact. Let go that way again. Yes. Alright. 3rd comment. Another thing. It's funny how Gary circles around the direction issue. So I guess we'll do that subject next. So I go to the trouble, to illustrate the circumstance, the various experiments you can do where you're hitting, same mass into same mass, then heavy mass into light mass, and then light mass into heavy mass. And point out how you can't really write an equation for all those circumstances because they're fundamentally different in terms of how much momentum is hitting, how much energy there is in the system even. And the behavior will be distinctly different in terms of the action you'll get out. Alright, and they're the ones that are just totally evading it. I mean, I'm not circling around anything. You won't ever draw. Nobody will, not your brozo, not you. No one will draw the physics and show us what happens and how it happens. So go ahead and draw me your physics. Show me how it works. Show me how the Mythbusters, for example, experiment should have come out. Okay. Show me what the cars should have done that they didn't do when they actually crashed them. Alright. Let's see. Misses its relation to vectors. So they're claiming I don't understand vectors when they're the ones saying that a 10-ton train rolling down a train track somehow has momentum that's forced to go in the direction of the tracks, but somehow the kinetic energy doesn't have to go where the tracks are going. The kinetic energy could be knocking birds out of space or something. It's somehow magical crashing energy. It doesn't have a vector. Yeah. Which is just baby talk. It's nonsense. It's so silly. But to accuse me of messing up vectors is just so idiotic, because clearly I'm the one defending the idea that the energy always has a vector. That elementally it has a vector. I'm the particle person defending the straight line theory. You're the one defending the crooked line theory. It's just hilarious. As vectors limited to one line, okay, one dimension. Yeah, there's only 3 dimensions and something can only travel in one of them. Okay, let's see. It can travel, obviously, in more than one dimension at a time. I mean, I don't know where he got that argument. I mean, I've clearly argued for the fact that the gravitational force can act on something and the falling rate will be completely independent from the horizontal rate. It's Brozo who says you can measure energy by measuring how long it takes something to hit the ground. He's the one arguing that it goes 4 times as far. Yeah, not me. Okay. All right. And how it's the math that explains the directionless nature of energy. So one minute he says it's it has a dimension, and the next minute he says directionless. So there's no directionless. I'm just arguing whether it's a little grain of heat, or whether it's an electron in an electron gun, or a photon in a laser. It's all very directional. And all you can do is scatter it. When you scatter something, you lose its direction. So I could make the simple argument. I could draw a sun, and I could just say, it's really easy to understand the photons are traveling in rays. Really easy to understand. Anyway, which Gary supports. So where do I support the directionless nature of energy? I don't know what that could possibly mean. Where did that? Versus the direction of momentum. So I can't even make sense out of that. And how it's the math that explains the directionless nature of energy. So again, there's absolutely nothing I've ever even come close to stating where I've ever endorsed any notion that each individual bit of energy doesn't have a direction. Of course it does. It's rays of energy. Which Gary supports. I don't know. Versus the direction of momentum. So again, he's going to argue that somehow the direction of kinetic energy is something different than the direction of momentum. So when a car is heading for another car, the kinetic energy doesn't know it's going to hit the other car, and somehow the momentum does. I don't know. I mean, it's just such garbage as a foundational concept. You just can't make any sense out of that rubbish. Velocity has a direction, and guess what? 1/2 mv squared is made out of v, velocity. Obviously, but squaring it removes the direction. So why would that be? Well, who made up that rule? How does squaring a number that's pointing in a direction somehow make it non-directional? There's absolutely no logic to that, right? If I say it's 4 squared, okay, that's 16. How does it being 16 mean it isn't all the properties it had before? How did all the other properties change? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. We're saying it's going 4, and we're saying, well, we can square that acceleration or that velocity. Somehow squaring means I don't know which way it's going anymore. I mean, it's just an amazingly made up pile of shit. Alright, since you can't tell the negative or positive number. Well, of course you can. So again, he's saying you somehow can't square a negative number. Of course you can. You just got to do your trigonometry. Put your things in brackets. So it's understood that it's the quantity squared. Okay, and so, that's all it really is. You're not changing the minus sign, okay? And the minus sign really means minus. It means subtract this number from that number. Yes, you can square this number and then you subtract it from the other number. There's no complexity here. So it's just more crap. He's just making up a story that somehow math says that when you square a number, all of a sudden you don't know what direction is and you don't know the difference between plus and minus. Bullshit. Was squared. Okay, the positive number was squared. You can't tell if a negative or positive number was squared. Again, why would you worry? You're squaring the quantity. You're not squaring the direction. You're just squaring the quantity. It's that simple. The direction is a different symbol. It's trigonometry. You have to follow the rules. Okay. It's one of the reasons it had to turn out momentum and energy were 2 different things. Yes, one is benergy and one is energy. So one is genergy or snenergy or bezenergy. This is just the tart universe. This is just these people are just doing ballet, word ballet. Okay, la 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 la. This doesn't have anything to do with reality. So there's just no rational argument here. There are two different equations that produce two different outcomes as an answer to a simple question. So anytime you're dealing with different weights, objects, the two theories produce a different answer to the same question. Okay. Just a fact. All right. And would have to be and would have be for the and would have be and would have to be for energy to ever be at rest. So this is more baby talk, the rest energy. So it's not moving, but it has energy, blah, 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 blah. So he says that's some kind of real thing everybody has to believe in. That there's stuff in the universe that has no internal motion or no motion at all, and somehow it has energy. Whatever. Like it is in a piece of wood. So again, Einstein's already pointed out that the piece of wood is doing a lot of vibrating. So we already know it's got lots and lots of energy in it. So more bullshit. Crap. Nonsense. Rubbish. Alright, so let's go through the argument. Like I said, I made pretty clear in yesterday's video. They mocked the video as being somehow an invasion of the subject. They just, they won't pay any attention. So it's almost like it's a waste of time to even try, because people will let them get away with it so far. Well, I mean, it just seems like every single critic, not one of them has the integrity to stand up and say, well, I don't agree with their tactic of evading every single argument you make. Yeah, that's lame. Ooh, what pussies. Misparaphrasing every single argument. So I honestly just point out the experimental reality, okay, that I can bang things into other things, okay, I can get an outcome. And it doesn't, in some cases, the real question is this idea of putting a spring in between. So they call metal on metal elastic, and then they call metal spring metal elastic. And they're really not the same thing. So yes, they do use the word super elastic. So there is some qualification, but it just leads to a bunch of confusion, because how can it be 100% elastic and then have super elastic? All right. And so the real question is as I make this lighter, okay, and as I make this heavier, what happens to the energy in that system? All right. And you can see that, right? No, you can't. Yeah, good catch, Gary, except for the fact you should have caught it before that. Oh, now our camera's broken again. All right. So you're going to do this transferring thing, okay? And so if we do use a spring, you can understand some catch to it, right? Because the spring has to compress against the pressure of this one not moving. But there's a point where the pressure, okay, as it's starting to compress, this is already going to start to move. And as it starts to move, obviously it's sort of taking the spring with it, okay? And so as you go lighter and lighter, okay, you start pushing more than spring releasing. So the spring becomes less and less meaningful the lighter and lighter the object gets. The spring is less and less useful, and it's more and more useful the heavier the object gets, the more the spring doesn't move, and therefore all the compression has to get into the spring. All right, and so I've just made the argument that obviously these are very different experiments, because if you actually do the experiments, all right, though, if I use the same energy going in each time, what I'm going to get as results is both objects are going this way in all of these experiments, and as I go heavier, I'm going to have this action, okay, two actions. And then when I want to get to really heavy, that is really stuck to the ground, the fact is that what I'm really going to do is move the earth. You could almost argue I'm going to turn the earth, and I'm going to get the full reflection of my energy. So all I can get back is the 100%. So whatever I have here, 100% of the energy, will have to happen after. So the after effect, the reflection plus what went in here, okay, has to equal the 100%. And that's all I can ever do. And so the simple quandary is, right, we know that, say if this is, let's just say it was 50 miles per hour, that if I do hit the solid object, I'll get 50 miles per hour back. All right. Now, tennis balls are really bad. You only get 75% back. So you lose quite a bit. But you could almost imagine a perfectly, almost perfect, like a steel ball hitting an anvil. Okay, and it'll bounce back pretty high, maybe 90%, 92%, 95%, pretty high. And then you could have like a super ball or something, and you can increase exactly how much you get back. But if I do get that much back, it does mean this reflected all the energy. So I can't make more energy. I can't make the Earth go this way, okay, with 100% of the momentum, and then make this go back with 100% of the momentum. Can't do that. Alright, so you'd argue that this doesn't come back with 100%, and the real changes is about how much compression the spring has versus stuff that moves versus stuff that doesn't move. So the point would be is that there's two ways to do this experiment. Have a static spring, that is, you just compress the spring a certain amount between two objects and then release the objects, or you bang one object into the other object, and the pressure you're going to create is going to be different because the yielding objects are going to mean there is less pressure in the spring, and the ones that don't yield, what can you say about that? Alright, so the one that's these two seem incompatible is this. So you're saying that, okay, I put this in, this bounces back, alright, but it's only going to bounce back with 1/2 the velocity, this side. So it's not 100% do I get back. So if, in theory, right, you could get it to bounce back, but the point is all the energy goes into this, and so that's why you can't do the equal comparison between these two experiments, because this does have the same mass. 100% just goes in here, and so you can't compare the 50-50 you should be getting that you start to get when you take two objects. So if I make a 2 mass here and the same 1 mass, you can understand that this one has to go with less velocity than half the velocity, something less than 1/2 the velocity that this had, and that this will have the remainder velocity can reflect. But you have to conserve the momentum. So the argument is, again, if you believe in conservation of momentum, you know that has to happen, because you can't end up with 133 here, okay, in momentums. You went in with 100, you end up with 133 going that way and 33 going this way. That's all real extra energy. So really back to the same experiment. And they're saying they have perfect math that somehow gets right answers. And they're saying that I should have perfect math that works for all circumstances. Springs or no springs. No. There are going to be different answers depending on the circumstance. And subtly different anyway. But what you're not going to change is this. So do we all agree on this one? That if I hit it with a heavy mass, the two objects are going to be going in the same direction, and that the speed of those two objects are going to be closely related. Now, the fact is, so another fact, if I put a spring, so if I just do this mechanical process of hitting steel against steel, so I hit a big piece of steel into a little tiny piece of steel, the little tiny piece won't fly off at a higher velocity. But if I do put a spring in here, I can make it go a little faster, because what I'm basically going to do is store the pressure, and then the spring is going to release the pressure in both directions and give the little light thing a boost. So I can add extra velocity if I have super elastic circumstances, but otherwise I can't. So when a bowling pin gets hit by the bowling ball, the bowling pin goes the speed the ball was going. So if the ball was going 20 miles an hour, the pin can go away at 20. Alright? And now the ball is going 18. Okay, so that's the difference. The pin looks like it's leaving, But the fact is the ball's recessing. The ball is slowing down. So the ball is going away from the pin, essentially. The pin's leaving at the 20 the ball had, but now because the ball gave away its energy to the pin, it's going slower. So the pin looks like it's leaving, but technically the ball is the one receding. So there's lots of arguments here. This isn't that simple that you can just make up some simple thing. And I'm just arguing that the real simple thing underlying it all is what Galileo, Newton, and Descartes all believed in, which is that you have to conserve the mv, the momentum. That momentum has to be conserved. So no matter what happens, you just add up the masses moving, and you can figure out that they all have to, whatever's before moving, little dots of mass, that if you add up the little dots of mass moving, you have to have the same amount of mv. That's conservation of energy. Alright, so that wasn't perfectly done, but whatever. There's plenty of arguments to be had that you either believe in conservation of momentum or you don't, so they won't take a stand on that statement. It's clear the Professor Lewin experiment, where you end up with more momentum in a direction, is problematic, and they won't explain that. So Despard did a video, didn't have any explanation, and said that's fine. I can make a video, I provide no counter argument, and I say you're wrong anyway. That's how lame it is. So they won't explain how it's possible that they can violate conservation of momentum and make free momentum in a direction. Because as I've obviously pointed out, any experiment that'll do that, I can just replicate, and I can keep increasing the amount of energy to infinitum. Alright, so back to the Pyrrho arguments. Well, they're not arguments, the accusations of the Pyrrho. You can't make an argument. Too lame in the brain. Alright. You've struck on something particular. He has in fact been saying the momentum should be shared 50-50. I'm saying that if it's going in two directions from a spring, that's what springs do. Springs can distribute energy at any speed. So if one side is light, it can push it fast. And if the other side is heavy, it can push it slow. So it can produce any speed for an amount of pressure. So essentially when the M hits it, it can bounce it based on its mass. It can give it a fast velocity or it can give it a slow velocity. So it can convert momentums. It's a simple argument. I can compress a spring really, really slowly and then release it really quickly, or with a light mass, or I can just change anything. I can store the energy in any MV form, any variety of mass and velocity, and like a 5-pound thing going 10 miles an hour or a 10-pound thing going 5 miles an hour. I'm arguing those two things compress the spring the same amount. Do you understand that or don't you? So when they hit the spring, they're going to compress it the same amount. And I can produce either one from the spring. I can produce the 5-ton train going 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, or I can produce a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour. Your obligation is to show an experiment that shows that doesn't happen. Something other than a Brozosian experiment. Alright, in the case of the bullet and the gun, e.g., so let's see, saying that momentum should be shared 50-50. And as I stated, in the case of the gun, there's probably a little disproportion just because the fact is you probably are pushing the explosion a little bit forward because the gun resists, the motion, the heavy mass resists being absorbing the energy at the same rate. Let's not use the word resist because it's not really resisting, it's just stating I can't be moved until you move me with enough energy. But he also, in the latest video, recognizing, so this is just a lie about some recognition that took place in the last video, lie. Finally, why the heavy, infinite weight object doesn't get much momentum. So again, he's saying much momentum. So again, this is the vague part, because we don't have the experiment. This is what should have been experimentally done a long time ago, is all of this should have been clinically done. Take the same object and just bang it into from very light thing to very heavy thing and see how much energy you get back. I mean, that's the important one, is how much you get back. But regardless, it'll be 0 for all the light objects, of course. Yes, measure both. I'm just saying that, yes, it's a clinical experiment. It should have been done. It would be insightful to have the exact numbers. But it's your physics that hasn't done the experiment. They've had 300, 400, 500 years to do the experiments, and they haven't done them. Alright, anyway, infinite weight object doesn't get much momentum because the spring finds more resistance pushing it. So he's saying heavy things provide more resistance, and yet somehow light things are doing that on levers, which doesn't make much sense. Alright. Pushing it when the small thing, okay, the spring finds more resistance pushing it than the small thing. So again, it's not resistance, it's just that you have to convert it. It needs time. So if you're not going to be applying the pressure for a long enough period of time to convert the quarters into nickels, then yes, the object won't accept the energy and it will reject it. Now, if you shoot a bullet into a piece of wood, it's not going to matter because you're going to break the wood. You're going to change, you're going to deform the wood. You're going to use a big pile of the energy changing where the atoms are located because it won't be able to absorb the energy and retain its integrity. The object itself can't reflect anything because the object itself will be broken. And ends up pushing more in the direction of the small thing. So it's on the opposite direction, right? So if it's hitting a heavy mass, the idea is it's going to bounce back. That's the point. But anyway, if he put, so again, I never stated you could make the object go back, okay, faster than what it could go back, okay, if it's pushing something. It's not going to come back with more. It's just giving away less. It's still a problem. It's the fact is that's the experiment we need. We need these experiments, hitting light things into heavy things. Okay, we need them done by somebody better than a brozo. If he put math on this, so again, what math? So you made up a formula where you're conceding momentum and kinetic energy aren't the same thing. You should at least concede they don't define energy the same way. You're saying they're not both energy, so Benergy. But why would you combine those two formulas to come up with a third formula that creates free momentum? So that's pretty stupid. Why should I bother with that? So you're saying that's what a smart person does. I'd say no, that's what somebody trying to make a mess does. Alright, yeah, if he put math on this, he would see the contradiction. So again, there's no contradiction. Conserving momentum is never a contradiction. So again, what contradiction? Show me. Show me the contradiction. Show me where you have evidence it takes 4 times more fuel to go twice as fast. Again, where's the contradiction? I don't have any contradiction problems. I'm saying momentum always works. So I'm saying you show me the experiment where it doesn't work. Conservation of momentum doesn't work. Show me. However, that's not why he won't. He won't because he doesn't get math at all. I won't for the same reason that Galileo, Descartes, and Newton didn't. Is because it really depends on what you're banging into what. Aluminum into aluminum is a different experiment than steel into steel. Everything is really a little bit different, and you're not going to have some general rule that you just place on top of it besides the fact that you have to conserve the momentum. Alright, that's the tricky part, I'm just saying. But yes, the math in general, the principle is you get You get motion in the same direction when it's lighter, and you get motion in both directions when it's heavier. And what we're really just arguing about is how much of that energy gets reflected. And I'm saying the maximum is the perfect reflection back in the same direction, which will equal the same as the one directional. So you can only get, the momentum has to be conserved. So obviously the other object, the heavy object, can't absorb any of the energy, essentially, if I get 100% back. But I won't get 100% back. Nothing's that elastic. So I'll just end up with getting some percentage back, and some tiny percentage will go into the object, the other object I hit. This view in general is if he can't understand something, it must not be important. So another lie. I mean, I've not discounted any subject as being important. I've covered almost every single subject there is in physics. It just, what is that? You're the one saying that these fundamental elemental subjects, that somehow you're saying that even though Galileo, Descartes, and Newton got absolutely correct answers to questions, that somehow they had a fundamental misunderstanding of reality. And I'm saying, no, the reason why they got accurate and stated accurate statements is because they actually did have an accurate understanding of how the reality works, and that your changes would break all of their correct answering. So Newton could land you on the moon, okay? He can't now, okay? If he uses mv squared, he's not going to do it. It's not going to work. I mean, could you answer that simple question? If NASA used mv squared to account for the energy of the thrust, that would be essentially like saying the bullet actually does have more energy, and I'm going to move in the opposite direction with more energy than the recoil of the gun. So they would actually be saying exhaust gases have exponentially increasing energy, and they wouldn't land on the moon, because they land on the moon by considering it a momentum and just calculating it as momentum. And that's the truth. And all this crap you people keep spewing is just bullshit, because you know that's the truth. You know NASA has said it overtly. We just used Newton's mechanics. You know that's the truth. That Newton lands you on the moon. Kinetic energy won't. Alright, this is an extremely important comment. Why exactly would that be an extremely important comment? This psychobabble. Because it reveals a big contradiction in Gary's thinking. So again, I keep saying things like, you're just like reading, I'm doing them the courtesy of reading their comments, and I'm saying, what contradiction, for fuck's sake? I mean, how can I be more explicit? I'm saying mv is everything in the universe. Mass is moving, a velocity is energy in the universe. It's the most important feature of the universe, is that there are masses moving in the universe. The movement is real in 3 physical dimensions. And you're saying there's a contradiction in my statements? Where's the contradiction? Alright, Gary's thinking that needs to be noticed. Thanks for highlighting this point, Papiro. So this is the crap they say to each other. I mean, you're rewarding each other for absolute babble. There's no, well, if you put math to this, he would see the contradiction. What contradiction? Where does momentum fail to get a right answer? All right. Even more than that, he can't understand something, it means it's wrong. So this is the Godfrey, the guy who thinks women ask for it. He admits it's not having any. He admits to not having any curiosity. Sorry, I don't know. I've admitted that I'm just completely disinterested in what other human beings have to say, because yeah, it's like every single one of you really can't say anything better or smarter than I'm saying. That's right, that none of you are saying anything reasonable or useful in terms of stating facts. You just can't find any. You can't stay connected to them. You're always contradicting some other statement you say is true. Always. Alright, to already having every answer he needs. Well, I'm just saying we have a lot of answers, frankly, to start making a rational model of the 3-dimensional material universe. And you people have completely fucked it up. Okay, and that passion is more important than argument, so never happens. I almost point out in every video now that all I can do is make arguments. I can't do your job for you of countering them. I can just make arguments. You can, like cowards, run away from them, but that's all I can do. And so all I do in every one of these fucking videos is draw and state arguments. And all you do is wimp out and evade every fucking one of them. And just do this raggy talk. He even went so far as to say strengthening arguments is futile. So this, I never said any such thing. As to say strengthening arguments is futile as the integrity of ideas, ... What a lie. I said strengthening arguments is futile because you don't have any integrity. That's what I said. I said there's no point in having arguments with people that don't have any integrity because they just keep pretending you didn't make the argument. They'll just keep evading it. So this is just a lie. Okay. Is futile as the integrity of ideas matters less than how ideas are conveyed. So I was making a social commentary that people are too trivial for arguments. All they care about is pretty colors and exciting movement, and that's it. They can't do any thinking. So I wasn't saying we should, follow that guideline. I'm completely pointing out satirically how this is the sad state of mankind, is that they don't care about the truth. They don't care about integrity. They don't care about any of these rules of having an argument. Like the Puro is a perfect example. This character who thinks he's some sort of do-gooder when he's this evil, slandering, fucking goddamn lying sack of shit. He hasn't had a fair argument in his life. He's just a propagandizing fucking tool. Alright, long story short, anything conflicting with his intuition. So again, none of this is by intuition. I've spent 10 years listening to physics lectures, okay, and posing the question, how can that possibly be the truth because of this fact that's in the way? And I just keep making these same arguments. So why don't you answer the question, Godfrey? I'm in space, and I'm flying in my spaceship, and I throw a dime 1,000 miles an hour out that side of my ship, and then just a millisecond later I throw 2 liters of Coke out the other side of the ship at 1 mile an hour. What does my spaceship do? And if you say it goes in a straight line, it just returns to its straight path, well, then you have to concede your energy is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything, because it won't turn a spaceship. Because the truth is they have the same momentum, and the spaceship won't turn. I mean, it'll go this way, and then it'll go right back to where it was, and it'll be right in the middle again. It'll turn, and then turn right back again. Same amount of energy, same amount of thrust, same amount of power, same amount of work. It's all the same, and you're saying it's fundamentally different. That it has 1,000 times more energy went out one side than went out the other side. That's your lie to the universe. That's the crap you're defending and arguing, okay? And it's brain damaging, okay? You're a child molester to argue that you think this is the most meaningful fact in the world. This stuff that can't even move a spaceship. You can't, turn a spaceship with it, and yet somehow this is meaningful energy. It does everything. It's so important. It's so critically important, and yet it can't turn a spaceship. He's such a lying sack of shit. Conflicting with his intuition. So again, none of these arguments are intuition arguments. Okay, the fact that it can't be 4 times the energy to compress a spring twice as much when all I have to do is this, and then I do this, and I have twice the compression of the spring, and I only did 2 units of work. These people are just so dishonest. Alright, anyway, is by definition wrong as far as he's concerned. So there's nothing by definition. I'm simply making arguments. I can't make sense of the rubbish you're talking. And then I researched it, and I found out that Leibniz was a religious kook. Okay, he said to Newton and Descartes, your physics is too atheist. That was his attitude. And this whole MV squared thing, nobody agreed with it. All the Newtonians said, yes, it breaks levers. Yes, it breaks gears. Yes, it doesn't make any sense. It's a stupid idea. Leibniz was buried as a nobody because the idea was completely rejected. And then a little cult member in France she was tutored by a Leibnizian, the 4 or 5 of them that were left. And she became brainwashed by this stupid little fucking cult fable. And because she had money and power, she talked to the idiocracy, and the idiocracy bought it. Because of clay experiments. Dropping round things into clay fooled them. All right. The story isn't a good one for your side, frankly. And in 350 years, you've never provided any physical evidence of this theory. So you've had 350 years to produce evidence that takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. You've had 350 years to prove that these 2 batteries equals 4 times the energy somehow. Even though it's only 2 of them, it's 4 times the energy of one of them. Okay, magically. Fuck. Alright, well anyway. By definition wrong as far as he is concerned. So there's no by definition. The definition of wrong is you don't have any evidence, and the theory is on its face retarded, like Sasquatch or something. And he wins because he asserts his arguments with certainty and confidence. No, I win, okay? I win the argument because you don't have any counter argument that isn't on some other subject. You don't argue physics. You don't argue any of the physical statements. Do you or do you not understand? The faster I go past a planet, the less I'll be bent by its gravity. Do you accept that as a truth? And then explain to me why it happens besides the fact that it's a time-dependent force, and the faster I go through it, the less it's going to affect me. Is there some other explanation besides the fact that the gravity is going to affect me per second? It's not going to affect me per foot. Your counter argument is... yeah. So John Walker says, physics is difficult. Deal with it. Like he has a slogan. Hot peppers are magnetic. Deal with it. There is free energy. We just have to look harder. That's his real slogan. Alright, and this guy says he actually is communicating with the John Walker guy. Steve Godfrey, do you believe in free energy? Do you believe we're just right on the brink of finding it? The hot chili peppers are magnetic, and we can create magnetic motors out of hot chili peppers? Is that your theory too? Because that's what that nut believes, you fucktard. The fallacy is called argument from incredulity. That doesn't make sense to me. Must be wrong. That's his quote of it. Frankly, everybody should be fairly capable of accepting that that's exactly what you do when something doesn't make sense to you. Okay, say you walk into a place and they have all the black people chained to the walls or something, and you go, wow, that really doesn't make any sense to me. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to see things that are stupid, and you're supposed to say, yeah, that's stupid. So I'm all for the argument from incredulity. I'm all for, gee, you're doing something that's too stupid. You really have to explain why, because it's just too stupid. All right. So anyway, so this is a joke thing. I don't know, Rackham Embart, some whatever woo philosophy. So this is what they waste time to. So they link to absolute crap. Okay, joke videos, music videos. They don't link to a physics video. Okay, so there's no physics videos linked to. Let's see what this actually is. Yeah, some bullshit. Let's see. David Bain and St. Vincent Road to Nowhere. So it's what, another music video. So they don't link to physics. They don't have a physics argument. This is what they waste our time on. Fuck. Alright, well, let's do some comments. We'll interact with the audience for a minute or two. And then get back to the list of... I mean, there's so many arguments I've made over the time. You know, the bowling ball argument. Do you really think the 8-pound ball going twice as fast knocks down twice as many pins? Creates twice as much movement of atoms? Let's see. Weight is momentum. Yeah, well, that's another thing Pirro does argue against in one of these things. The whole scalar vector thing is such a lie. Alright, anyway, we'll get to that. This draft guy gets so angry. Proving bread. Okay, whatever. Keeps using those oversimplistic ideas. Yeah, the oversimplistic idea that there's force and matter and that they have to interact. Yes. Missing the main point, the time is squared. You can keep saying it, but it isn't. If you square 9.8, you're not going to get the right answer, idiot. You're falling in gravity. You square the 9.8 every second, you're going to predict that you're going incredibly fast, and you're not. You're just 2 seconds, you're going 19. 3 seconds, you're going 40, whatever. Works that way. No squares involved. It's not MS, it's MS seconds. So again, he really thinks there's some reason for anybody on this planet to play this per second thing. You've already said per second, and somehow there's some reason to point out that, yes, it could be 10 seconds, it could be 20 seconds, it could be 500 seconds, but we'll just say second squared instead. So yes, you're supposed to multiply the rate by how many times the rate happened. That's the way it should work. So if you have a rate of 9.8, you multiply it by how many seconds it happened. You don't multiply it times itself. Alright. He just gets mad and curses at you. Okay, well, we'll just block you. That's not obviously not all I'm doing on this channel. I'm not, fuck you in the ass. I've made thousands of hours worth of physical arguments. I've drawn them on this fucking board. It's just fucking idiotic to complain because, oh yeah, gee, he called me an asshole. If you're too much of a baby and you can't take it, then fucking get out of the kitchen. Jesus Christ. Alright. Why would it be m squared, SS, okay, and not m meters per second? Yes, it's just meters per second. So rate. How many times the rate happens? That's the interesting part, and that's the part they're ignoring. Alright. I'm waiting. Well, you're going to wait forever now. To the chat, if you actually understand the arguments Draft Science is putting out here, you would understand why he gets angry. I get angry because, yes, obviously I've been doing this for years, and the cowards, I've tried to pay them to answer me. They won't answer me. The cowards won't answer the fucking questions. Do they believe in conservation of momentum? Do they understand that spaceships don't use to navigate in space? They don't use mv squared. Do they understand? That's the facts. The fact is you have no physical evidence of your energy. You have no physical evidence it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. You have no physical evidence. Do you understand that? So I've been saying that for 2 years. Do you understand that levers don't work? Yeah. So something that worked for thousands of years, you can break it with your little magical woo theory. Somehow levers don't convert momentums, when that's exactly what they do, and they do it very efficiently. Ugh, pathetic liars. Alright, so I guess we have to go back to the horror. The horror of the fucking moron comments. Let's see if probably should do more arguments on the board. I'll erase and think about what other one I could do. I'd like to go down to the whole double slit thing too, because Pirro was such a liar on that subject. Such a fucking idiot. He's so stupid. He doesn't understand the experiment at all. He doesn't understand what the two patterns actually look like. He's just so fucking clueless. Just talks his shit. Mr. Monk. And the stray cats. LOL. Whatever. And the stray cats. You understand neither his arguments nor mainstream physics. Okay. Well, look, you're not making an argument. And the stray cats. Oh, well, that's his name, Mr. Monk and the stray cats. So his name is longer than his fucking comments. Hilarious. Yeah, well, just fuck off. You're obviously not going to make a physics argument, so just get the fuck out of here with that stupid fucking screen name. Link to your physics. Link to your physics. Show, prove something, or don't comment. Okay? If you're going to comment and say I'm wrong, or you're going to say RL truth is wrong, or you're going to say somebody else is wrong, you have to make the argument with something called a piece of evidence or reasoning. You can't just say it over and over again. If that's all you're going to do, you're going to get blocked. So you either produce a piece of evidence or a piece of reasoning, or you shut the fuck up. Those are the rules. Evidence and reasoning. You don't understand. That's not an argument. You don't understand. No, that's not an argument. I'm rubber, you're glue. You know, anything I can say I'm rubber, you're glue to, don't say it in this comment section, because it'll piss me off. Okay, so if you want to continue to comment, don't say something that any 4-year-old could just go, I'm rubber and you're glue. Okay? Ugh, people. God, I hate humans. Ugh, fuck. Disgusting, filthy things. Anyway. Alright. He has no formula and no mathematical aspect. So clearly there's plenty of formulas written. I write down the MV a lot. Okay? And clearly I've argued the whole... We could do the weight argument. That is just so clear that right now you're essentially creating pressure on the earth, and the pressure is being created because you actually do have a positive momentum into the earth, and the earth just keeps putting you back, putting you back, putting you back, but you're always getting positively pushed into the earth. It's just a fact. Alright, and so momentum is all there really is. Momentum is weight. And weight is energy. You have to apply a weight to something. So the faster I run into something, the more I weigh. If I run fast enough, I can weigh tons, and I could plow right through a brick wall. Alright, to him, x divided by t, so whatever x is, who cares? The magical x divided by t is the same as x. No, to me, if you're going to make a fraction out of something, right? So if I say I have a 5, right? And there's a fraction, and I want to multiply it with a fraction, you know. I want to do some math with my... I want to do a whole number, and I want to deal with a fraction. So I turn my whole number into a fraction. What I do is I put a 1 underneath the 5. Because 5 ones go into the 5, right? So I have a 5. Because I have 5 ones. Right? I don't worry about whether the 5 was bluebirds or banana trees. And I don't worry about whether the 1 is a second or a mile or an elephant or a hippopotamus. I just say 1. So what they do is they put 1 second. So when they're converting a number, right? It's a whole number, okay? It's just a number. It's a number. 17. And instead of just putting 1 under it, they put 1 second. And they call that doing rational math. They think that's a mathematically acceptable mechanism. And let's understand, the only time they ever do it is in this circumstance. When they do math other times, they know they're just supposed to put a 1. They're not supposed to put a 1 with a unit on it. They don't put one elephant or one banana tree or any of that. No, 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 no. You don't put any units. It's just a 1. One of the very thing that's on the top. Yeah. Okay, and it wasn't seconds that were on the top. So, liars. Oh, they're just such cheaters. Okay, so to him, x divided by t is the same as x. To him, d and v and a are all distance. Well, obviously the velocity isn't a distance. So the d is by definition, the displacement is a distance. So yeah, you can't miss that one. Obviously the v is a specific reference to a velocity. So you're just saying you have to use distance to detect the velocity. Okay, the velocity is something it has at every little moment in time. But the fact is you can't see it unless you allow it to travel a distance. So you have to use distance to see the velocity, but the velocity isn't a distance. So I clearly don't think that's true. And a are all distance. So whatever a is. Oh, acceleration. Do. Anyway, except he already thinks of those as different. I don't even know what that means. I've clearly pointed out that acceleration isn't any different. Acceleration is just a change in velocity. The change can't be different. Okay, if an elephant loses 40 pounds, it's not something different. It's not 40 pounds of hyena that it lost. It's 40 pounds of elephant. All right. So he would make an exception, and it's all momentum. It's the point. It's all weight. So he would make an exception. So I don't even know what that means. He already thinks of those as different, so he would make an exception. But that's the analog of what he thinks about force and energy. So this is his paraphrase. So clearly I've pointed out, I think there's two distinctly different things in the universe, force and energy. Force is energy, and there's just force and matter. Matter doesn't have any energy. It's only forced to do things. I've made all these arguments. He's not countering any of those specific arguments. And force and energy and rate of energy. What he thinks about, an analog of what he thinks about force and energy and rate of energy. You're the ones that don't seem to understand a rate. 9.8 meters per second is a rate. You don't square a rate. You wait and see how many times the rate happens, and then you multiply by how many times it happens. Not complicated. It's all pressure force to him or weight. Yes, and your counter argument pointing out how that's wrong is where? Where can I reference your argument explaining how weight isn't exactly how everything interacts with everything? By applying weight. He has no concept of unit compatibility, so that's just an accusation. It doesn't mean anything. I'm clearly the one arguing that I can read 9.8 meters per second. I understand that unit is in seconds. It's not 9.8 meters per meter. It's not 9.8 meters per a unit of distance. It's clearly per unit of time. How are you getting units correct by not recognizing that 9.8 meters per second means it's in units of time? All right, he thinks that math can always be made to work out somehow, but he can't do math. So this is more lying. What I've said is you can contrive nonsense equations all you want. If no one's going to ever test the answers, then you can get away with it. So for 200 years, the Young double-slit analysis has been an absolute lie. The math doesn't work. It doesn't actually predict anything like a double-slit pattern. It's not even close to getting the right answers for the single slit. And no one's tested it, so they've gotten away with it. Oh, I can see there's a bunch of troll chat. So let's see how much of it's worth reading. Let's see. 2 minutes and a half till midnight. Pathetic vomit. So this is just another one of he's just wasting time with his screen names. Oh, okay. So we'll just block it. Simple enough. I mean, it's obviously just a troll. I mean, again, you could quote my arguments somewhere and point out how I haven't responded to something. I read their comments, I respond to them. They're the ones who haven't produced any explanation. Despard did not make a video explaining anything or making a simple request. There's nothing, I mean, his request is, I pointed out exactly what it is to me, meaningless. You have a non-existent, useless equation. You're saying, why don't I have a useless equation? Why don't I make a useless equation to sum up something that can't be summarized? Okay, something a little more complicated. I mean, the fact is, you're not going to come up with some simple formula that can deal with the fact that in one circumstance the two objects reflect away from each other, and in the other circumstance they're both going in the same direction. You're not going to find math that can do that in 3 numbers or 3 letters. Oh, you people are just so pathetic. Does use logic like the lever, bowling ball, and car arguments. He explains it logically, but none of you people want to explain why he's wrong. Yes, you won't give me any evidence. They'll link me to no evidence. They'll link me to no physics lecture. They'll never link me to a single argument made anywhere that they know has credibility. Okay, because that's the key thing, right? They're all incredible arguments. So I found the Professor Lewin video. Okay, and I found it extremely curious, right? That how the fuck did he do that? And then when I researched the experiment, I started picking it apart. You could find the obvious flaw in the experiment. I mean, there's clay where it shouldn't be. There's all kinds of parts missing. It's clearly not the experiment he says it is. I mean, that's the way it works. But I'm saying, go ahead and challenge me. Show me a Mythbusters experiment where they prove the existence of kinetic energy. Show me, you know, and not the exact opposite. Right? Show me. But they don't show anything. Again, credible evidence is by a definition. Okay, the evidence has to be in a credible form. You have to show it done well, not done badly. I mean, I could sit here and make a video and I could say, oh, this battery is so much harder to lift up. Oh. I could say it. Did I just prove that this one's heavier than this one? Because I said it, it feels heavier. That's an experiment? No, that's a piece of shit. Oh, these people are so dishonest. Alright, so we'll go back to the gravity argument for a little bit. And the weight argument, which seems, you know, just so decisive. It's all the whole lever argument. It's just, I don't know how, you know, they just sit there and keep evading. I've been asking for 2 years for them to draw a lever. So Pierrot's willing to have a conversation with his buddies, a live conversation, and talk about how I'm wrong, but he won't draw a lever and explain how it works. Okay. So their theory is, okay, so let's do their theory of a lever first. Okay, is that I have a lever, okay, a balance, okay, and I put a 2 mass here. All right, and I put a 1 mass here. All right, so that's the same as just saying I'm going to put a force, right? So gravity is already moving these objects, you could say. So you could say that the basic movement is whatever, 11 miles an hour or something. You come up with some kind of number for how much it's moving in a direction, okay? And so I can change that. I could make it 22. You know, if it was a direction, I could go 22 miles an hour. I could go 33 miles an hour, right? I could just keep increasing the length of the velocity arrow and increasing the momentum. And I would see a commensurate increase in the weight. That's what I would see. So these are just weights. So if I drop the object, okay, from a fixed distance, it has a certain amount of energy that it's going to put onto the scale, a certain amount of weight. And so it's going to weigh. So at 1 centimeter, that's how I, you know, pretty close. It's 8 to 10 millimeters, okay, is the decisive distance. So you have something on the ground, all right, and it weighs. And then all I do is lift it up 1 centimeter, okay, just 8 to 10 millimeters. I lift it up that high and I drop it. I double its weight. So if it weighs 100 pounds, I can make it weigh 200 pounds by just dropping it 1 single little tiny centimeter. And then if I drop that from 4 centimeters, Okay, so I dropped the same 100 pounds, all right, from 4 centimeters. All right, I'll end up with 400 pounds hitting the ground. So that's how velocity works. So you can obviously see this is going to be a line that goes up. Yeah. So I can get more and more. I mean, it's going up, but it's not. You know, it's you know, the weight is just dependent on doubling the distance, which doubles the time. I mean, quadrupling the distance only doubles the time. So I have to keep saying that. So it's just about the time thing. So it's about how long something falls will decide how much force it can apply. So again, if I lifted this up 1 centimeter, it would be a 4 mass hitting this location. Okay, I lifted up 4 centimeters. Okay, it's now an 8. So I can, you know, so it's real impact. I mean, the point is that this device, okay, will in fact just deal with those weights. It will just balance the weights. And the other object will have to move commensurate to the change in the weight. So I can just keep doing this thing until I have the recoil of the gun on one side and, I mean, the bullet over here. So if I could make the lever long enough, I could have the bullet over here go 1,000 miles an hour. All right, and I could have an object here, you know, close to the fulcrum, 1,000 times closer to the fulcrum, going just 1 mile an hour. And that would work as a truth. Okay. Let's see. So theoretically, so the real argument is this. So this is the simple argument, right? So if I put a force in here, I'll get the same force out here. And obviously this part of the lever moves twice the distance for every bit this moves. So every inch this moves, this will move 2 inches when they're oscillating, balanced. So I can just oscillate them with a little bit of energy. Now if I oscillate them with if I put an extra energy in to cause liftoff, okay, a liftoff velocity, enough velocity to cause the thing to lift off, this will go 4 times higher than this will. That's a fact. This will go 4 times higher. It doesn't matter what the masses are, the gravity rules are the same in terms of the distance and velocity. But it's only twice the velocity. So 4 times the height, but it's only twice the velocity. It only takes twice the time, okay, and it's only twice the weight, okay. It represents twice the weight. All right, put that in parentheses. So I'm arguing that yes, levers work perfectly. They convert momentum. So I can put a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour in here, okay, at 10.5, and I'll get a 5.10 out of here, okay. So I can inverse the MVs, okay. I can have a big M, smaller V, or I can have a big V and a smaller M, okay. And it's the same thing. These equal each other, and they're just weights. That's all it is. It just equals weight. Your mass has no weight until I put it in gravity. Just a fact. I can put a scale against you in space, you know, without gravity, and you don't weigh anything. Okay, there's no weight. I can't make the scale get dented by you because you're not moving. So the motion is what gives it something weight. The velocity. It has to have a velocity or the mass is weightless. It doesn't mean anything. This is a 0 times the mass and 0, you know, simple enough. So they're arguing that if I actually do this experiment and put the 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour in here, that this won't leave at 10 miles an hour. It'll only leave at, let's see, 1.4 of 5 miles an hour, right? So it would leave it like 7. All right, so this goes in and this will only leave it 7, and I'll lose 1/2 of the energy. So how do I draw that? Lost, gone. So I'm going to lose half the energy I put in. So I put in 100 joules, and I'll only get, okay, I'll get 100 joules, but I'll lose half the momentum. So half the momentum will have gone somewhere. And I guess their argument is that it's going to go into the only place it can go, which is into the fulcrum. So somehow if I put this whole experiment on a scale, that when I do this experiment, I'll see a difference. So when I put a 2 mass here and a 2 mass here, I'll get the same conservation of momentum. But when I put the 1 mass out here, I'll lose half the momentum. So if I do it with the 2 and 2, this will weigh a certain amount. And if I do it with the 2 and the 1, the whole experiment somehow, okay, will weigh more. So even though there's less total weight on the experiment, somehow the experiment will weigh more. That's there, because I have to lose the energy somewhere, right? The momentum. If I'm losing if the momentum has to be conserved, they agree, then the momentum I lost here, because it's only 7, it's not 10, has to go somewhere, has to be somewhere. All right. So not the most articulate point made, but I'm just saying that obviously there's not any difference between a 2 mass here and a 2 mass here, and a 2 mass here and a 1 mass. I should draw it out further just to make it clearer, and I should make it smaller. Okay, and a 1 mass out here. They're the same thing. You can't say that the experiment loses more energy because the 2-2 versus the 1-2. The balance says it's exactly the same. This isn't going to be harder to push. It's half as weight. How is half the weight harder to push? But that's their argument. Something half as massive is somehow harder to push, and so I lose momentum. I can't throw it twice the speed. They're actually arguing that you can't throw a bowling ball. Say if you have a 16-pound ball and you throw it at 8 miles an hour, and then you pick up an 8-pound ball, they're saying you can't throw it at 16 miles an hour. Even though it weighs half as much, you can't throw it twice as fast without adding more energy. 4 times the energy, right? Well, twice the energy. You somehow have to add twice the energy to just get it up to, to get it up to 16, you would have to add twice the energy. You can't just, 4 times the energy. You can't do it with twice the energy. So we're right back to it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. Not one single experiment in the documented universe that can be found defending that proposition. But that's the physics they believe in. They're telling you you're an idiot. If you don't believe it, you have to believe it or you're an idiot. And they haven't got one piece of physical evidence. Alright, so this is just more rags here. He has no right or reason to be angry. Does that make any sense at all to anybody? If somebody was defending actual child molesting, nobody should get angry if they're defending child molesting, like Brozo. Or wife beating, like Steve Godfrey. Nobody should get angry. Wife beating is perfectly legitimate. Why should anybody get upset? You're molesting the truth, okay? That's the fact. You're raping it. You have no evidence. You're just arguing for a religion. People should be angry because you're a liar, okay? You're a flat earth loony who's just defending this crap because you have your dick in its ass, okay? You're invested in it. Okay, you're horny for it. You like wooey baby physics. Okay, little sparkly glitter, little poofy things to believe in. Oh, I'm gonna time travel, and I'm gonna, that's all you want, you pussy. All right. So he's going to do any. So is he going to do any actual experiment proving his case? So again, why should I, frankly? You've had 350 years, billions of dollars. You can't do the Eddington experiment. I have to do it. I have to make a 12-foot telescope and go through all this trouble. I have to put a satellite in space with a camera in it, all right, to take a couple of pictures of the sun. Your physics doesn't have to do it. Okay. Or is he just going to stick to his unfounded claims? So they're clearly founded claims. They're actual physical arguments. If you believe in conservation of momentum, this is what the outcome has to be. If you don't, then you can have a different outcome. So just state you don't believe in the concept of conservation of momentum. Just do this lever experiment. I did do it on my porch. Now, Brozo did it, okay, and he got pretty close, 1911, pretty close to a 2-to-1 result. Now, sure, eventually, if it comes to it, maybe I'll do some experiments. But I'm just saying, you're making my point for me. You can't even understand it theoretically. You can't even understand a lever theoretically. Why should I even have to make one? Do you understand the concept of how it works? Do you understand that once it balances with a 2-mass here and a 1-mass here, it's already proving these are the same weights as far as the lever can tell? And it's going to treat them as the same weight? Alright. Let's see. And show all us the other mass coming out with twice the velocity. Yes, so I have to produce evidence, you don't. So you've had 350 years. You've had trillions of dollars, frankly. You have labs all over the place, colleges all over the place, all these institutions propagandizing this shit. You don't have to produce evidence. I do, in my basement. I have to do the experiments because you can't. You don't have to have any evidence. You can come to court, just say he's a murderer, and then you can say, prove he's not. Fuck you. It's not my obligation. You're the one with the Jesus theory. Well, show me, fucker. First them played trolls. I don't know what that means. First them played trolls should understand topic. Clearly them don't and haven't a clue. Part of clown show. Well, it's clearly part of the no-show, okay, that they have no-show physics. All right, it's all a fable. It's a religion. You're not allowed to ask for evidence, okay? No evidence is involved. You don't need to see any evidence. We'll just tell you the story, and you're supposed to believe. All right. Let's see. Why don't you invest some of that money into doing actual experiments? I thought Brozo's the one with the big money now. No, that's never happened. So again, I've already offered money, so you're just another liar. I offered $3,000 for the, that really good guy, whatever his name is. I can't remember his name. The guy who made the electron microscope, did the other stuff. I offered him $3,000 just to do the subject. So he didn't even have to mention my name. I just wanted him to deal with kinetic energy as a subject and do the, I suggested the experiment to do to prove there's no conservation of momentum. All right, and he wouldn't take the money, wouldn't respond even. But an air track, but a lever, just anything. So again, I have done these experiments. I did a ballistic pendulum in my basement, okay, and the results were I couldn't make the I couldn't make the twice as heavy object, okay, go with 2/3 the velocity. So it didn't work. And then I had to do a little balls on a track thing, with a rubber band pushing them, the 2-mass going 4 times the distance. And I had to prove again that I could make it almost twice the velocity. Now, it wasn't quite twice the velocity, but pretty close. I mean, half the mass, twice the velocity. And again, proving Professor Lewin right. Your people are the ones saying Professor Lewin doesn't know what he's talking about. Professor Lewin's the one who says you can something kinetic energy one way or the other, but nature can't finagle momentum. All right, in the same paragraph where he says half the mass, twice the velocity. So you're the ones not paying any attention to the college professors. Buy an air track, buy a lever, anything to support your arguments. Why do I have to do that? Again, I'll just argue it again. Why do I have to provide evidence when you don't? And what theoretical physics guy ever does the experiments. I mean, what experiments did Einstein personally do? I mean, frankly, it's not my job to do the experiments. I'm talking about what the experiments can produce as possible results. I don't have to do the experiment. And then it's like the double slit experiment. We know they've already been done. Okay, we have lots of images of double slit patterns. Well, they don't look anything like the pattern created by something with infinitesimally small slits. You can't make a double slit pattern with infinitesimally small slits. So it's just an overt lie, right? For them to call it a double slit pattern and then say, and you make it with infinitesimally small slits, that's oxymoronic, okay? Because you can't make a double slit pattern. That is, you can't make a pattern that has the two patterns in it out of something with infinitesimally small slits. So, fuck you. Ugh. You're not a white knight, you're a child. Okay, I'm rubber, you're glue. You're also a stinking, skanky, infested cunt. Yeah. You're also a disease spreading, and you're probably really ugly, and I can make lots of other arguments. No one is molesting anything except DS. Yes, exactly. More ad hominems. And what are these? What are all of your comments except just rags? This is his style of argument. No, my style of argument was to draw a lever and to ask the other participants to please draw a lever and explain how it works. Non sequitur. No one said anything about taking pictures of the sun. It's not a non sequitur. It's part of your non-existent evidence. You're saying light is twice as bent by gravity, and yet you won't do the experiment. 100 years later, with all our advanced technology, with space telescopes with 400 times better resolution, and you don't need an eclipse, and it only takes 5 minutes, and you haven't redone the experiment. That is the topic, fuckhead. LOL, another lie. Did you throw a mass into a lever? No, I didn't. Brozo did. Brozo did the experiment. It came out perfectly satisfactory to I'm saying yes, satisfactory experiment. Yep, the half mass goes pretty close to twice as fast. There, we're done. Worked for me. Let's see. Mark being made a fool. Okay. So then he starts telling truth guy something. Being a religious fanatic. Yes, well, exactly. So the truth is that the Leibniz, the originator of the theory you're defending, was in fact upset that Newton and Descartes, two religious kooks, were two atheists. And that's why he invented this crap. It's because God needs to fix the broken universe. So you have to break the universe, or then you don't need God. Descartes' mechanics work. Momentum works. It all runs perfectly. It just keeps going. There has to be some inefficiencies, or God isn't necessary. That's the argument. Making baseless accusations. So, whatever. I'm not religious. I'm waiting for the opposition and their evidence. Yes. You mean like like the collection of experiments you can find online, like any experiment? Yes. Again, we've done the Mythbusters thing, so yeah, go find an experiment that has something to do with kinetic energy that actually shows something important. A one mass going into a two mass. Yeah, we've done that. Okay, obviously the Professor Lewin experiment is just a big lie, so I've proven that. There are others. Link them here. No, let's not. Okay, we've already been over that experiment. Unless we get the details, that is a lot of checking for shenanigans, crooked. There's so many ways you can cheat the experiment that's the real problem here. So that one we're not going to accept until we have somebody that does it honest. Like I said, I can just, for every one of their experiments, I could just show the high school teacher who did it when she wasn't counting, when she wasn't looking at the results. And it came out exactly consistent with momentum being conserved. Oh, it looks like the links can't be put here. Yeah, they can be put in the comments section of any one of the thousands of videos that are on my channel. So, yeah, what's the big deal? Oh, yeah, this stupid whine. Just present your predictions so we can compare collisions. So I don't even know what you're talking about. Provide one formula that you predict. So we've already predicted. We've already stated the opposition to what we say how a lever works. And yes, the prediction is you can't create free momentum. My prediction is you can't create free momentum. So if you have 100 going in momentums and you have 140 or 170 or 100 or 690 coming out, you've done something wrong, because that won't happen in physical reality. All right. I assume photons carry a force called. Yeah, did you? I don't even know what that is. So why are you posting this again? I saw it in the comment section, and I'm just ready to block you. Okay? I don't even know what the fuck this is. You assume something. I don't give a fuck. Whatever this fucking faggoty word is, I never said anything like it. Quintessence? I never said a photon has any quintessence. Goddamn cooties. What the fuck are you? What kind of words are you putting in my mouth? You assume. Who cares what you fucking assume? You're supposed to be making an argument. Your assumptions are not a fucking argument. Which enables them to exert a gravitational-like influence on electrons. I don't even know what you're talking about. What the fuck? I don't give a fuck what you assume. You like to lick anuses. I don't really want to know. Okay? Don't tell me what kind of weird crap you're into. Save your perversions for other people who are interested. I'm really not interested in your weird, goddamn debaucherous stories. Your quintessence. I've never said that fucking word in my life. Let alone even read it. It's just, ew. Ew. What the fuck? What? How many boobs do you have? I mean, what kind of girly crap is that? Quintessence. What the fuck is that? Phew. So why are you posting crap you put in the comments section I found totally uninteresting, and now you're posting it again? Amazing. The proposed mechanism suggests that when a photon interacts with an electron, it momentarily transfers a fraction of its quintessence. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Okay, it pushes the fucker. I mean, a bullet doesn't, push your head, when Candy's head flew, because the bullet hit it. Okay, it wasn't quintessence. You fuck. His head got pushed, causing the electron to experience an increase in velocity. So fuck that. I don't even know why the fuck you're doing this. What the fuck this is about. I don't know what's going on in your fucking head that you think I would agree to talking that kind of rubbish. The force pushes. Doesn't have some sparkly juice. It doesn't do that. It doesn't share its glitter. Have some glitter power. Oh, God, you people. Mass M1 and V1, whatever. Okay, so that means going in, initial, right? Elastically collides with mass 2 at V2. So I don't even know if it's V2 is supposed to be nothing. What are V1 and V2? We're not playing the game. There's nothing here. You have to conserve the momentum, shithead. So the answer is yes. M1 times V2 has to equal V2 times M1. Oh, fuck you. It's just too ridiculous. Just provide a special case if you can't otherwise. Well, just fuck off. Okay, this is just too silly. If 3 mass collides. Okay, look, we've been over all this in videos. Okay, we're not doing this. All right, I'll just time you out this time. All right, this has all been covered in previous videos. We're not going to go through the previous video without playing the previous video and all that kind of crap, right? This is an argument that's been made over and over again. There is a real contention, okay? I've proven Professor Lewin's carts can't weigh what he claims them to weigh. Counter-argue that video or you can say nothing on this subject, okay? Unless you prove I am wrong to conclude that experiment was a fraud, okay? Unless you can show where I made a logical mistake in deducing the masses of the carts, you have nothing to say on this question. All right, so just fuck off. I'll just block them. Fuck them. Well, I'll time it out. But whatever. I mean, we've been over and over this, okay? This has been done hundreds of times in videos, this subject. So you have to add something of value. You can't just reiterate the same crap over and over and over again, what your predictions are. You have to prove your predictions. Yeah, it's the old hyperberloid. Yeah, it's another. Well, then look, this whatever his name is, the Merker guy. I'm losing all. I went to his channel, okay, and he's sub to Puro and Anticontavad, a disgusting nihilist. I mean, he's just a wooicist. He's an idiot. But yeah, I mean, he posted the same crap in my comments section. I was just like, what the fuck is this shit? What do I do with this crap you're typing? You know, I mean, it's just such crap. He types this silly, you know, whatever, tribute to all people should be worshipping Newton and Einstein like demigods. They are the reason we have a new age of humanity. What fucking new age of humanity? What does that even mean? People are getting dumber and uglier and stinkier by the day. They're turning more and more into fucking just monkeys. I can't even understand. I mean, out of 99 people that, you know, out of 100 of the people that walk by down the street, I can't even understand what the fuck they're saying. They're all talking to themselves, and I can't even overhear the conversation. The new age of humanity. It's just such a funny line. Oh, fuck. I mean, we're swirling down the toilet, and this asshole thinks we have somebody to praise. There's nothing to praise, you idiot. They all failed us. Dismally. Okay, and then he says, can you agree equals E equals PC? PC? What the fuck is that? Momentum times what? The speed of light? I don't know what the fuck that is. Oh. Photons having zero rest mass. Why the fuck would I even say something as stupid as zero rest mass? I mean, why would I even waste my time with such a stupid fucking thing to say? That you can change how much mass you have. Fuck you. Still having momentum. Oh, you magically have momentum, but you don't have any mass. Oh, fuck you. Why do you think I would agree with any of that? Photons are photoelectric injecting mechanisms into electrons out of metal material. I don't even know what the fuck. So it says you. I have no reason to believe anything you say, okay? Because you have no evidence to support it. I assume photons, there he goes, have a force called quintessence. No, we won't read that again. It's just too disturbing. We can all agree space-time and general relativity are incompatible. What's incompatible is space-time, general relativity, and quantum mechanics. But yes, I mean, obviously space-time is in 3 dimensions. So yeah, it just messes up all kinds. You get in all kinds of trouble when you try to pretend your frames can be in different gravities. But, you know, how do you unbend the space-time to be able to bend it in your frame? Yeah, you can't. So, yeah, oh yeah, it's a pile of shit. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed individuals. So this is like something Faraday said at his lectures or something. Why are you posting this crap? What the fuck do I need this crap for? What is the purpose of this crap? I'm just deleting this right in front of you because it's, what the fuck is this shit? I'm not here to placate fucking assholes, okay? We know that, you know, Newton said things to the king and he said things to people. Your honored great magnificence, I love you to death. I wish I could have your babies. You know, in his letters when he actually hated the motherfucker's guts. Why the fuck should everybody have this pretense of enjoying conversation with you fucking pieces of dirt? I hate your fucking goddamn guts, okay? You're human fucking maggots. It is fucking revolting to spend time with you fucking morons. Why the fuck would I say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so pleased to be here to have this opportunity to try to argue with your moronic, fucking cement-headed, fucking dog-do-filled brains. No, I'm not fucking privileged. I think you people fucking suck. I think what you talk is absolute shit, way above your fucking pay grade. I don't think you've earned the right to have an opinion on a single goddamn subject because you don't spend any time thinking about it. Ever. You spend 4 seconds, 48 seconds at the most. The most you've ever spent on one fucking subject is 48 fucking seconds. I spend hours of my life thinking about everything. Alright, I don't talk shit, you fucking idiots, like you morons. I spend a lot of time working it all out. Well, how does the economy work? And then I sit there and I look at the Fed, and I look at the numbers, and I sit there and I think, what the fuck is this money? Where did it come from? Then I go look and see, where did the money come from? Whose money is it actually? What money is it? Is it actually printed? Is it not printed? I do the fucking research. I don't just fart out of my ass like you fuckers. Oh, somebody told me photons are pink elephants. So that's what I believe because they told me. I mean, fuck you. So whatever this comment was, what the fuck? What does this have to do with this fucking subject? God damn it. Let me get rid of this quintessence thing because that really bugs me. Yuck. Fairy princess crap. God, I hate people. Hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em. Alright. Let's get out of here pretty soon. People are just... What's the fucking point? Ugh. YouTube really needs a policy to stop people from making constant troll accounts. Well, obviously, it's in their interest, okay? So that's not going to change. They make money by having activity. They want activity on their website. So they love the trolls because they stimulate activity. They trigger people. They love people being triggered. Show me the video where someone shoots a 2-mass ball into a lever and the 1-mass ball comes out with twice the velocity. Well, you show me the opposite. So I will show you. Okay, go to Brozo's channel. He has a video where you'll see billiard balls in it. Okay, play that video. And you'll clearly see that the half-mass comes out with twice the velocity. Damn close. Alright, the work has been done. When will the make counter arguments? You didn't finish that sentence very well. Please, by all means, show us this evidence. Alright, you are serious. Let's see. Look into the photoelectric effect. Okay, I'll just block you. You don't think I know what the photoelectric effect is, you fucking weasel? I mean, there's a point where you're just going to go too far, okay? And you're getting really, really close, so I'm just letting you know. That doesn't... You can't sell that shit here. I'm probably a better expert on the 2-slit experiment than anybody you could find in 1 million people. You could go through 1 million people, I probably know more about it, because I've probably seen more of them, watched more of them, looked at more of them, paid more attention to what photons are than anybody else has. So, fuck you in the ass. Look into. Fuck you. Look into Leibniz. Look up Leibniz. The philosophies of Leibniz. The beliefs of Leibniz. And then look up who tutored Deschartelet. Madame Deschartelet. Look up her tutor. Who actually sued her for plagiarism because she was writing his ideas. And his ideas were Leibnizian ideas. Let's see. 2-mass ball into a lever, 1-mass ball out of the lever at 2x the velocity. Leave the link on their video. It's as easy and as simple as that. Okay, so I'm just saying, yes, go to Stephen Bro's channel. He got the results of 19 and 11 for the velocities. Almost 2 to 1. You go within the Brozosian error, right? You could just say it's within the Brozosian error. I can change the numbers to 20 and 10, right? I mean, you can't get more 2 to 1 than that, and that's within the margin of error. You do understand what a margin of error is, do you? Then his argument will be proven. So again, just keep saying it. You're making my point for me. You have no evidence of it not working. You're just claiming it doesn't work, and you don't have any evidence. So you come to this party and you say, I have to have evidence. You don't have to. It's just such hypocrisy. Did the Brozo video had 2x mass going on the lever? Yes, he put a 2 mass on the same spring, okay, on one side. Same force. Moved it the same distance each time. Put a 1 mass, 2 units out. I mean a half mass. Okay, 1 mass. Twice the velocity. Put a 2 mass, 1 unit out, half the velocity. Okay, experiment's been done, fuckhead. This is boring. Okay, well, goodbye. Then go somewhere else. I mean, wow, that's so interesting. No, it's not really. Oh, God. Some people are just amazing. All right, post the video. Prove your point. Okay, I'm not going to Okay, so, you're not going to get away with saying the same point. Okay, prove your point and then let others scrutinize your claims. So again, you're the one who has claims. You have to provide evidence for them. You've had 350 years to prove it. Okay, I'm going with what Descartes, Galileo, and Newton observed. All right, so that's what I'll just say. You're saying I should disagree with their interpretation and understanding, and you're providing no evidence for any reason for me to disagree. He meant to say go to Brozo's channel. Yeah, leave a comment there. Tell him he proved DS. Let's see. If you're so confident, it should be no problem. So again, he keeps saying the same thing. So just tell him he's wrong. It's really simple. You will be vindicated, and you'll demonstrate how dumb everyone else is. Do it. I don't know what you're even asking for. I think we're just gonna block you. See what you do next. You're saying you don't have to produce evidence. You do understand that, right? I'm just saying if you're going to make a claim to, this whole argument, I say show me. If you can't show me, then you have no right to say back to me, show me. Okay, so that's the end of the argument, all right? So we're just going to sit here and say, okay, I'll make the criticism that you've had 350 years, trillions of dollars, thousands of educational institutions with lots of laboratories, and you won't do these experiments. I have a basement, okay, an unwell-financed, unusable, basically. I have to cook here, do lots of things, blah, 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 blah. I don't have anything to do with having to do fucking physics experiments, okay? I don't have the space to do physics experiments. I don't know what. Just tell him he's wrong. I've told Brozo he's wrong 1,568,000 times. Well, anyway, comment on his video and I'll give you a link. I don't know what that even means. I can't link stuff on this chat, by the way. Yeah, I'm not asking you to link in the chat. I'm saying, look, I've been doing this for years, fuckhead. If you don't understand what a comment section is, you don't understand what email is, why should I bother with this? Fuck off. This is too silly. I can't post a link. I can't send a link. I can't do anything. Fuck you. I mean, if you don't understand that this conversation is not one video, okay? It's years of videos. Years. And you're going to show up and sit there and say, it's all about me and my arguments. No, it's about thousands and thousands of hours of arguments, mostly made by me. They don't make any arguments. They just throw insults like you. I don't know exactly why. I think I wiped out Dark Mon, and somehow he still has a comment. It's funny. But obviously a troll. I mean, the whole Dr. Castro thing, when there's two Dr. Castros, one works for NASA and one works for the Department of Energy. Two different people. They don't even know the difference between them. What scum lives on this planet? I tell you, you see it. No willingness to be fair at all. I mean, again, we haven't had one of these pieces of shit, human beings, that oppose what I'm saying, make the simple admission that they wish NASA would have done the Eddington experiment. They have 400 times better resolution from space. It's a really simple experiment to do. It decisively proved the point. And they haven't done it. In 100 years, they haven't repeated the experiment with the better technology we have now. And the experiment is overtly suspect. I mean, anybody who's fair to the subject has to admit that the Eddington results are very suspect. There's very real evidence that they quote mined the photos to produce the result, that they threw out data that wasn't to their liking. It's a real valid accusation. And none of these people would admit that, yeah, they're disappointed that their physics doesn't do these experiments. They won't even admit it. Damn, these people don't get that Gary has been making arguments for years and they want you to spoon feed them. Yes, they all want to be personally tutored too. I don't know if they intentionally want to get you to so angry. Of course they do. It's just trigger crap. That's okay. I mean, it's real in the sense that they represent a real part of the idiocracy. They are talking the real shit that the real morons would say. I mean, they are imitating moron very well. He is working at the National Ignition Facility. Well, that's a third place now. So it doesn't matter. Look, we're done with it. Okay. So I'm glad you can make sock accounts very easily. I'm very happy for you. Fuck off. Ugh. It's a new sock account. He knows how to play the YouTube game, to make the little fake accounts. I agree they need to do the experiments, or the two okay followers of yours need to demand they do the experiments to prove facts. I don't know what that even means. The two okay followers of yours. I don't know what that even means, but whatever. Gary, Gary, how would you solve the hard problem? We're not doing that subject here. There's no hard problem, frankly. I mean, it's quite obvious it's all an illusion in your head, okay? Perception, consciousness, feelings. It's just something the brain generates inside your brain. It's not made of something. It's not some sort of bubble or orb, okay? It's just the processing of electrical signals. And certain patterns of electricity mean there is pain in the universe now. Okay, but it's just a pattern of electricity. It just happens that that particular pattern of electricity is a really bad pattern because it's going to feel real. The pattern really happens, and the pattern has the real consequence of conscious sensation. There are real things. They're just not in and of themselves something. They are completely emergent happenings. So whatever. It just pisses me off. You people can't stay on the fucking subject. Alright. Leibniz died poor and dishonored. Yes. And Newton was given a state funeral. There's a reason for that. Yeah, he lost the argument decisively. That's the reason. He decisively lost the argument, and then he even went in the argument against, where plagiarism, the accusation of plagiarism, got thrown back and forth between Newton and Leibniz, which ironically didn't happen because Newton made the accusation or Leibniz did. It's because other people made the accusations. But anyway, in that argument, Leibniz did forge documents and got caught. I'm not worried about it, okay? My job here is to do my job, okay? My job is to reason. If people aren't reasonable, then okay. I go to a war and I get killed. It doesn't mean that my life was wasted or what I did didn't work, okay? It just means that, yeah, I don't win, okay? But the idea that truth matters and truth will win in the end, I believe in that. I believe it's going to overcome morons like you. You will be on the sack of shit pile, okay? The shitheads who got in the way. You're going to be one of the dead Nazis, okay? Yeah, fuck you. You're going to lose. Well, you don't care, so you just said, who cares? Well, fuck you. What are you here for, then? Why the fuck are you here, you fucking asshole? You obviously care about something. What is it, my hair or something? You like my little blue eyes or something? You got a little horny for me or something? What's your little fixation, weirdo? What the fuck are you here for if you don't give a shit? Fuck off. So what's he say? Ooh, so scared of you. LOL, your words hurt me. Well, you clearly have a problem. Your problem is you can't make a physics argument. Fuck off. Card picker, nose picker, ass picker. All Leibniz had after his death was a remaining few cult members. So there's a few lunatics in the world that still were Leibnizians, and it's just ironic, okay, that one of them happened to get paid to be the tutor of a little girl in France, and he filled her head full of shit. People need to understand that squaring velocity just doesn't make logical sense. Yeah, well, whatever. They're not going to understand that because they think physics is some sort of rigorous scientific thing when all it really is a religion. And they just make up their silly fable stories about their Jeebuses and their gremlins and their pixies, and all of it's crap. Antimatter's crap, the 400, 800 fake magical particles is all crap. The whole thing is crap. Gluon, pooon, zooon, it's all crap. It's a crappy religion. The universe is just an interaction between bits of force and bits of matter. That's all it is. The matter makes the force capable of doing something, okay, because it moves matter, and the matter moving changes where the force goes. I don't even know what to see. You're just asking another question. What the fuck does this question mean? How many physicists alive today have created their own model of the universe? What does that even mean? You can almost argue that everybody has their own model of everything. Nobody defines any word on this planet exactly the same. I say the word cat. What pops into your head is going to be different than the cat that pops into my head. So that doesn't make any sense. almost all are followers. It's not a matter of following, it's they're believers, okay? They're the lack of attention people pay to the foundations is, so people believe in religion. Why? Because they never even thought about it, right? I mean, theoretically, they just never thought about how much of a fish story it is, right? The fact that other people are telling completely different fish stories. The Muslims have a completely different definition of Messiah and the whole thing. And, obviously their evidence is just as shitty as our evidence. That fact alone should give them pause and say, shit, I don't have any better evidence than the guy who believes in a squirrel god. Why the hell am I believing in this one? Because my mommy says so? That's what they don't do. They don't scrutinize the foundations they stand on. They just say America is right. Our country is great. It doesn't matter how many people it manipulates, how many nuns it shoots, how many whatever it does. It doesn't matter. Our country is great. Blah, 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 blah. And it's that kind of crap. They're just bandwagon riders. But who cares? That's a human problem. That doesn't explain why intelligent people can't recognize the argument when you point it to them and say, you don't have any evidence for your theory. A virgin birth doesn't make much sense. I mean, you can make arguments and say, do you really think so? If you were a god, this is how you would, this is what you would do, is that you would, whatever, miraculously conceptualize, whatever bastards into the world and, give them semi-magic powers that convince nobody. I mean, you can make certain arguments that are pretty strong arguments against it, right? The whole idea that the disciples would betray Jesus after they've seen Jesus raise the dead. I mean, that would be a pretty convincing argument, right? It's like after Moses parted the sea, all of a sudden, a few years later, they're all ready to run back to Pharaoh. Does that make any sense? The fucker parted the Red Sea. I think you're pretty convinced that, maybe his God sucks, but his God must be God. There's really no way of denying it. I mean, it's just so stupid. Or hell comment on the Ryan Gosling video. Oh, hell comment on the Ryan Gosling video. I don't know what that means. Or hell comment on the Ryan Gosling video. I played his video. I pointed out how it's absolutely rubbish. It doesn't take twice the work. I mean, it does take 4 times the work to put twice the weight on a scale. Compressing a spring twice as much does not take 4 times the work. Always okay what you say in your echo chamber. Alright, well, I'll just block you. This isn't an echo chamber. Just fuck off. I mean, I'm just so sick of crap. Yeah. Piro's made videos for a decade now. Where's the echo chamber? If they had an argument to make, they would make it. They could counter my argument. They don't do it. Clearly. Apparently he was making some argument that this is, yes, they always want to try to make the argument that somehow I'm having, this is my way of wanking or getting off, or this is fun. It's very depressing to realize how dumb and dishonest and weaselly people are. It's horribly depressing to realize that you can't have a civil, rational conversation with these fucking pieces of shit because they're so dishonest. They will violate your children. They will rape them. The truth means nothing to these fuckers. Integrity means nothing. They will cheat and steal wherever they can. Again, it clearly says 9.8 meters per second. Now, whether you say it's per second, per second, per second, per second, per second, doesn't make any difference. It's still a unit of time, fuckheads. You have to pay attention to the per second part. It's not per foot. Specific gravity for determining the purity of precious metals is very interesting. Well, says you. I mean, obviously the fact that each elemental atom has an atomic weight is useful information. So yeah, obviously if the volume doesn't match the weight, then, you can figure out that, hey, there's something else in there. Either something too light or something too heavy. But I don't see why it's very interesting. It would become very interesting, if we do have the collapse of society, and then all these people who think they have hedged by owning gold. It'd be interesting to see how useful their gold will be in the future. In a dystopian world, whether anybody would trust a piece of gold, because obviously it's just so easy to pollute it with other minerals and cause it to have the same specific gravity. It's funny how the old days, when they actually had gold coins, how people everybody would just file a little bit off, file a little bit off, file a little bit off until there was almost no coin left. But even if consciousness is an illusion, okay, fuck you. Whatever. You just want to believe in some faggoty story about reality. Okay, go ahead and believe it. I can't stop you from being a phantasmagorical, silly person, but there's nothing to it. It's just what's happening in an iPod. An iPod makes heat, okay? Instead of making heat, it does make heat. Our brain also makes consciousness. But it's just as simple as making heat. It's not some wooey thing. In my opinion, the problem remains, how is the illusion is created by material particles? La 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 la. Well, go ahead. You think it's a problem, and the problem can only be solved by God must have done it. No. It's a pattern in the brain. I'm just saying you can take away things. You could just pull out all my knowledge of butterflies. You could pull out every neuron that's connected to the word butterfly. Then you could pull out every neuron connected to all these kind of words. And you would eventually get away with a little pile of brain. And that brain could still feel it when you stick a nail in my eye. All right? And it would still have the sensation. I don't need intelligence to have sensations. I don't need a lot of this stuff, okay? My brain just makes it as an illusion, okay? It creates the projector, it creates the theater, it creates the projector, and it creates the asshole watching the movie. That's it, okay? You want to make more out of it? Go ahead. I can't stop you. I'm saying there's no need to make more out of it. It's going to remain mysterious for quite a while because it happens, in 100 billion neurons. I mean, it's a very complexly created illusion. But why do you need the answer? Why do you need the answer than evolution done it? What more of a statement do you need than, yes, it's a very good control mechanism. It does produce an organism that's able to navigate and learn and do all this crap. So, yeah, it works as a mechanical machine. But it's just a mechanical device, fucker. Alright. How is this illusion is created by material particles? I suppose, whatever this empiricism, and I'm just trying to deal with the hard problem of... there is no hard problem of consciousness. Who cares? This Bernardo Ketchup guy is a fucking idiot. In my opinion, has a good defense of idealism. Well, fuck you. I think he's a moron. I did a fucking response video to one of those fucking flaky, stupid fucking... Again, it's all this just airy-fairy, wishy-washy bullshit. You think that's science? Fuck you. You don't know what science is. Alright, the brain is significantly more efficient than a computer we have designed. Says you. Calls himself Microsoft. Oh, God. Why not just call yourself Skanky Butthole? current architectures aren't anywhere near the design of brains, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, we have advantages over the solid state brain, and the solid state brain has huge advantages over our brains. So, fuck you. 100 watts is still a lot. Our brain is producing like 100 watts of waste heat. It's a lot of waste. But anyway, who cares? Oh, God, you people you can't stay on a subject. You can't get close to a subject. You just, pathetic. Some brains are less efficient than computer, as seen in the chat today. Well, it's not even that they're less efficient. They're fucking broken. They don't work. Computers work. Human brains don't fucking work. There's no continuity. There's no reliability. There's no error checking. There's no nothing. You can't depend on it to add 2 plus 2. As I'm pointing out, they can't figure out that 9.8 meters per second means 9.8 meters per second. Not per mile, not per foot, not per meter. No, per second. Now, computer CPU uses between 40 and 200 watts. Yeah, well, that's a pretty good range, isn't it? So they're obviously getting better and better. You know, the waste heat is being reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced. Human brains aren't getting better. So fuck you. You lose the argument again. I mean, who declared how many waste watts has anything to do with how good the computer is? What does that have to do with whether human brains are better than computers or computers are better than human brains? It's two different things, for fuck's sake. Who cares? Why are those the questions your brain comes to and says, well, I have to have the answer to that question? Never even occurred to me to waste brain neurons on that question. How exactly does that make the world more fuckable? I don't know. I can't figure it out. They say it's worth it, so doing this funny tap dance somehow gets you laid. I don't know how it works, but yeah, that's what they say. Obviously, anyone who says MGH is saying distance matters. How far you go is how much gravity you had. If I go 4 times higher, it means I have 4 times the energy. That's their argument. 4 times higher in gravity, you only fall for 2 units more time than falling 1 unit of distance. Doesn't matter. 2 units, so you're only going twice as fast, you're only in the gravity twice as long, and you only weigh twice as much, and they still say it's 4 times the energy. So you need to catch up on what the argument is here. This channel has a theme, okay? Physics, and most particularly in the last 2 years, 1/2 mv squared, their energy equation. Okay, where they say it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. That's what we're arguing more on. So get up to speed or shut up. They don't say. They do say. Okay, it's right in the formula. They measure the distance. How far does it go? So it's whether it's miles or feet or inches, it doesn't matter. They think the force happens per foot, per meter, per distance. They think distance is the force. I'm just saying, I don't know why you need more computers. I'm just saying the computers are damn good. They can answer most questions you need answered. Why do we need to know pi to the 5 millionth place? I mean, it's just, this is just silly with your expectations for what you need to do with your computers. Don't like being challenged while you're blocked. I mean, look, you're making claims. So are you, fuckhead. And I'm making counter arguments, and you're not, fuckhead. Jesus Christ, these people, you can't get away with that crap. You come to somebody's house and throw insults like that? I mean, fuck you. I'm sitting here wasting my goddamn time talking to you, you motherfucker. I'm answering your fucking goddamn questions, and then you accuse me of not answering your questions? Fuck you! Yeah, what do you think? The brain is just logic gates also. So again, when I say the word cat, your brain just does a bunch of logic gating, okay? And connects to a bunch of different source material and just pops up a whatever floats to the surface of that pile of crap. So I guess we've had enough. You people can't stay on the fucking subject. You can't say anything meaningful. You can't say anything relevant. You can't say anything useful. You're just so goddamn useless. Why do I bother? Damn. I mean, I have some perception that somehow you people will able to highlight the argument and assist in the process of highlighting and pointing out the argument and making it clearer. And you don't. You just make it dirtier and messier. So what does that mean? Meters per mile's still an unsubstantiated claim. It's not unsubstantiated. It's just directly in the formula. I mean, what the fuck? Do I have to draw it on the board? M-G-H. H stands for height, fuckhead. What is height but a distance, you dumb fuck? God damn it. How could people be this fucking stupid? It's right in their fucking equations. D for distance, you fucking dumb cunt. They measure the distance and then say it's the same force as the distance. Force equals distance. That's what they say for the work equation. Work equals force times distance, you fuckhead! I mean, he doesn't even know their physics. Oh, God damn it. Amazing. Alright. So enough. I hate it here. Just hate this planet of scum and shit and vile pus. Puke everywhere. Just all such fucking buckets of puke. Stupid motherfuckers. Can't put words together, can't reason, can't do logic, can't be fair, can't show honor or integrity. Just disgusting bags of crap. So, yeah. What else is new? Yeah, it's been that way since I've been on this planet. God, do I just always hated it here. Always knew I deserved better than this shithole. I mean, fuck. You know, always knew I was frankly better than you fuckers at everything. Better at thinking, better at breathing, better at everything. You're just all fucking bugs. Stupid, ignorant bugs. You don't even, it doesn't even occur to you to try to be a real functioning human, to actually process the world in some sort of honest way. Process your own, you know, gaping asshole and recognize, shit, I don't need one of those. Yes, deserve has nothing to do with it. It's a sad truth. We will not get what we've earned. So anyway, till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. Fuck. Yeah. I'll go do some gardening in the rain. That'll be more fun than this was.